Hello, Mark. My name is Libby, your new manager. Thank you for coming here today. We're here to go through some policies and procedures of Utopia Business Solutions that you need more training in. You would like to gain more skills in some of our processes.
Thanks for having a meeting with me today, Libby.
That's all right. So, as you can see here, we're going to go through provision of feedback to staff.
Okay.
So, to me, feedback is best done in this kind of scenario, one-on-one, because it leaves the employee feeling more welcomed and valued.
Absolutely.
And I find giving feedback is best done in real time. So whereas if someone did something today that is really good, or they went out of their way, they use their initiative to do an extra project, I feel it's best to give the feedback on the same day or the next day.
Absolutely. That's a very good.
Yep. Otherwise, it might leave the staff feeling unappreciated.
Absolutely. And I think, if there's any issues with things, if it's done in real time, then you have the understanding of when it is happening, rather than trying to come back to weeks after when it's a bit vague on both sides.
Yes, that is good. Because you can also give feedback via email or telephone, which is good, but I do feel that the one-on-one approach is a lot more, will help the employee feel more valued.
Absolutely.
In the long run.
Thank you very much for that.
That's right. While giving feedback, it's also good to make sure you have like open gestures and your tone of voice doesn't change. If you raise your voice, the employee may feel that they're in trouble in some way. Keeping eye contact to show you're listening, your active listening skills, so nodding in agreement, and stuff like that. Also, the room setting is important, but it's best I normally just call them into your office or approach them at their desk, or just something so it's a nice comfortable setting for both you and the employee, just in case they feel that they're in trouble.
Oh, absolutely, because imagine the stress level would be quite high, so it's nice to bring that down to a manageable level where people aren't feel like they're being bullied or intimidated.
Yes. So would you feel comfortable giving a one-on-one feedback to an employee?
Absolutely.
How do you feel about the email feedback? What's your opinion on the email feedback?
Well, email feedback is good. In a sense, you have a hard copy of what's being said between parties, and yes, I like email.
For positive feedback, I find it's okay to do the one-on-one, but if it was a negative feedback, like poor performance or something like that, that's best documented.
Absolutely.
Yes, because that's good to keep documented for future references.
Sure.
So how do you feel? So you're comfortable with feedback within the organisation?
Yes, that's very, very good.
Okay. So next we're going to go to monitoring employee performance. We will organise an online course for you to do after today, but I would observe an employee. That would be how I would monitor performance. Observing an employee is, looking at them in their everyday work, getting feedback from their co-workers, so, hey, how is such and such doing in their role today? Have they been keeping up with the workload? Are they stressed? Do they need more assistance? Do you feel they need more training? And it's also good to observe the employee just in case you realise that they need extra training, because they might be too scared that they might get fired or something to admit that they need more training.
Absolutely, and I think it's a more nurturing environment in doing it in real time, because it gets back to the first part of what you were saying, as far as you're addressing things as they actually happen, rather than setting bad habits in place that people think it's okay because no one said anything to them. So yes, it's very good.
So if you were observing an employee, how would you approach that?
I would approach them by saying, look, I just want to shadow you for a while. I just basically want to sort of help you through the situation, because if any problems arise, I'm here for you to ask questions to and be a supportive manager.
Yes. Some employees do use their social media and mobile phones and all that during the day. If you were monitoring an employee to monitor their performance, would you approach them about social media or using their mobile phones if there was on a regular basis?
Well, I think it has to come down to, is it impacting their work performance?
Yes.
And if they're using the phones an extraordinarily large amount of times during work period, that would have to be addressed because that doesn't go with work policy. It's disruptive and it needs to be stopped.
Yes. So you would do that one-on-one?
Yes, absolutely.
I would also do documented as well.
Okay.
Just because it's part of like a poor performance and they're not doing their jobs to standards because they're spending too much time doing personal things.
Yes, again with the emails, yeah.
Yes. So are you comfortable, would you feel comfortable monitoring an employee to check their performance within the organisation?
Yes, because I feel I have the support of the management.
Yes. So the next step we're going to do is conducting performance reviews. Conducting performance reviews are pretty much always done in a face-to-face meeting. So like this scenario here.
Yes.
So it always involves the manager, it can involve the supervisor and always the employee. And you basically discuss their performance throughout, could be a year period of the performance review, the 6-month period, depending on what you're going with. So the performance on how well they answer the phones or how well they communicate with other employees. It's also good to get feedback from colleagues. So say if someone approached you and said such and such does this fantastic, she does it really, really well, that's also good to relay that information to the employee because it's a booster.
Yeah, positive feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's also good to find out their future goals, both their organisational goals and their personal goals. So it's good to make sure the goals align. So if I asked you today, what would be your future goals within this organisation?
Well, I feel from first impressions of today that it's a very supportive environment. So like I'm quite happy to kind of get on board with any sort of advancements that are handed to me.
Yes, that's very good. So have you ever been in a performance review situation?
In previous employments I have, yes.
And it all went well for you?
Yeah. It's like I've taken the feedback, I've taken the constructive criticism and things that have been brought to my attention and put them into perspective and move them forward.
So did you find the performance reviews helpful as an employee?
Absolutely, because there's lots of things which you have a take on, which sometimes having a third-party view from a different perspective is is very helpful as far as aligning the goals of the industry.
Yes. So also during any one-to-one meeting, so in this scenario, it's good to always think of your eye contact, your gestures, your voice, and all of those kind of things, just to keep the employee calm during the scenario.
Absolutely.
So would you comfortable conducting performance reviews? Would you feel comfortable with that?
Yes, of course I would.
So the next one is intervention provided required due to poor performance. So this would be a face-to-face coaching meeting. It would be organised in advance. So you wouldn't go up to the employee and say, poor performance, we need a meeting. You'd at least give them a couple of days to a week to prepare.
Yes, because you don't want to be confrontational.
Yes, and if they're prepared, they're not completely put on the spot. Being put on the spot can be quite off-putting to some employees, and they might get angry and aggressive, and then it might lead to a bad outcome with the meeting.
Absolutely.
So it's always good to, in that period of the gap, to get the employee to be prepared for it. It's good to get feedback from other staff.
Yes.
So it's good to have evidence of the employee's poor performance. So, and it's also good to find out if they require further training.
Yes.
So it's good for feedback for that as well. The employees will know the best how they complete their work because they're with them every day.
Yes.
And then it's also good to discuss further training with the employee so you can organise it and so they can build up their skills.
Yes, exactly, because at the end of the day, you want to have a good employee out of this rather than feel you're just going through just basically sort of being unproductive or sort of unsupportive to the staff.
Yeah. So what is your view on poor performance? What would you, have you ever been
Poor
in a scenario?
performance would be something which would be counter to the workplace, like somebody who's disruptive, somebody
Yep.
who basically is always late, someone who's just very shoddy with their work effort. Yeah, they're the kind of things I'd be looking for. Yeah.
Yep, that's good. So the training can be done either externally or internally. Some employees feel more comfortable going externally because then they're not faced with their employees every day, especially
Yeah.
if it's poor performance. They might feel a bit embarrassed or to do something internally with other employees.
Yeah.
But coaching and mentoring is a very good way.
And I guess it's also, if you do it externally, you can do it at a pace that suits you.
Yes,
Mm.
that's very true. So so you're happy with
Yeah.
that one?
Very much so. Thank you very much.
So the next one we have is provision of counselling when needed is identified. So to counsel someone is you might see if they have issues, like personal issues. So
Mhm.
you could ask if if everything's okay. Do they need extra training? Do they need support? Is there any issues within the team? It's very it's basically, are they okay
Yeah.
in the organisation and externally?
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people have issues at home, which inadvertently they bring to work,
Yes.
and you really want to kind of help the employee get through both at work and at home situations for better outcomes.
Yes, because I think we all know it's very hard to keep personal issues away from work.
Yes.
Sometimes it just comes with you because it's always on your mind.
Absolutely.
So you've always got to have that on your mind, that it's a very common thing. Some people can't, the difference between work and personal.
Some people can't distance themselves from
Yes, it's very hard. So by giving them support, you can offer them counselling, external counselling sessions. They might feel comfortable to come and sit and talk to you. So you need to gauge what they are personally after.
Absolutely.
So are you comfortable with counselling an employee?
Yes, yes. 'Cause
And
I think
this-
it makes for a better workplace too. People
It
think
does.
better.
It does. So in everything you got to remember your active listening skills and to engage the communication and all that. So the next one is the managing disciplinary process. So this is Utopia Business Solutions disciplinary process. Where did I have it? Which is right here.
Yes.
So I've printed it out just so it's easier for us to look at it and then to just read about it.
Thank you for that.
You always have your first meeting. So it's to discuss the employee's needs of a performance plan and put a performance plan into place. The employee needs to be warned of the consequences that will happen if their performance doesn't improve. So you always give them the one meeting to start the performance plan and just inform them what may happen if it doesn't. So the end thing can be termination.
Right.
So you always organise your first meeting, then you'll always have a second meeting. So you review the performance plan to see if their performance has improved. If it has improved, you can continue with the performance plan until the duration of the performance plan. So this will be also give them a verbal and a written warning if they do not change, if their
Right.
performance does not change. So then once you've discussed all that, the meeting's finished, and then you have a third meeting. The third meeting is held if the performance has not improved. So if the performance have not improved, it is all written, it's written warnings, and you need to inform the employee again that it's, it could be serious misconduct depending on the situation of what the employee is on the disciplinary process for. So it could be poor performance, bad behaviour, rude, stuff like that.
Sure.
So you go through all the steps with the employee with the written warning and let them know that the next thing is termination if their performance does not improve. And then if you do have a meeting number 4, there's still no improvements, the employee will be terminated.
Right.
And if you see, I also printed out the procedures that will be implemented if it does come to the termination of the employee. So there's lots of different things. So you need to give the employee both written and verbal of their termination, stating why they have been terminated. So it needs to be very clear and concisely written, so it's well understood by them. You need to ensure the employee has been given the correct pay compensation. You need to make sure you've gone through every step of the disciplinary process correctly. Make sure you haven't skipped a step, just in case like unions get involved or external organisations they involve them,
Sure.
because that could end badly. And you need to also ensure that they've had plenty of opportunity to respond to their actions and plenty of opportunities to improve their performance in the disciplinary process, but that's all laid out in the performance plan. And if the employee is terminated, you need to ensure that they collect all their personal belongings, because everyone is entitled to their personal belongings.
Absolutely.
So did you have any questions on the disciplinary process or terminating an employee?
No, it's very clear. Thanks, Libby. I appreciate that. It was very clear what's going on here.
I did print this off for you to keep if you'd just like to go through it, but it is on the internet, so you can always access it if anything comes to terms. But so you're happy, you
Thank you
don't
so
have
much, Libby.
any questions?
No, that's fine, Libby. Thank you very much.
So you're happy with everything we've discussed here today?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, thank you very much for introducing me to the company.